Hello, it's Robert, and welcome to Robert's Guitars and Gear. Today we're going to talk about Epiphone Les Pauls. I have a sample here. I'll talk about this in a minute. Are these good guitars for newer players? What version would be good? There's a huge range. Let's talk about that and answer those questions and see if we can help you a little bit. So the short, fast answer, are Epiphones good for newer players? Is absolutely. So look, the Les Paul has a storied history in the world of guitar music. Every piece of music you can play has been played beautifully on a Les Paul, with just fabulous history spanning every genre all through the history of the electric guitar. So of course the Les Paul is a great option for a newer player. So what then? And what would I recommend? Well, I'll put some links in and I'll put some pictures in, but fundamentally, you can start at the very low end, under $200 with Epiphones. They have a melody maker and a special, and I've seen some reviews on those. I've never played one of those. I've never heard them sound bad, but those guitars are missing what I think are some of the key aspects of or features of a Les Paul that give it that really characteristic sound, that growl, that tremendous sustain that really are characteristic of a Les Paul, especially in rock music. Well, what are those characteristics? Well, I see a few of them. Number one, a mahogany body with a maple cap. When they say cap, it's just a thin layer of maple on top of the mahogany. That's the formula for a classic Les Paul that contributes mightily to its sound. Number two is a set neck. This neck is glued in, again, making this whole guitar body really one piece, one contiguous piece of wood that really resonates, that just gives it that, again, I don't know a better word to say than growl. It's distinctive. You can get great distorted tones with most guitars, but there's something special about that distorted tone in a Les Paul. But you can play great clean tones too. You can play very warm tones, or with the right coil split, for example, or just the right pickups, you can get a very bright clean tone too. So those two things that give you that solid body. Third thing for me is having the independent volume and tone controls for each pickup. This way you can switch between the pickups immediately to different tones for different purposes in the middle of a song without fiddling with the knobs. For me, and again, I play in church, but I'm not gigging with huge set lists. You know, I like to have a neck pickup kind of bright, and I like to be set up with the tone turned down on the bridge pickup and ready for some gain. But whatever you want to do, what makes sense for you, can do it with that flexibility. So those three features in particular, for me, make a Les Paul Les Paul. Now, where I see that in the marketplace coming together would be at the Epiphone Classic level, or through Guitar Center traditional Pro 4. This one started its life as a Guitar Center traditional Pro 4. At that level, and that's in the, as I film this, in the $450 range, what you are getting is all of those features in a Les Paul. So that's your starting point. And again, this one I got modified. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But I think you have a quite workable package. $450 range, solid guitar I think will perform very well for a newer player. Hard to go wrong. So again, a newer player, you might break into the Les Paul if one of those lower price models that have some compromises over the classic architecture, because I've never heard one sound bad. But if you really want to start with the correct architecture, correct configuration, that level is good. Now, I want to highlight one more in that lower, which is the Epiphone Power Players. Now, what are they? They are full-featured Les Pauls and also SGs in a very small short-scale package. So for kids or for smaller framed adults, or for adults like me that have problems with their hands. So I have not played one of those. Reviews are very favorable. So that's a new entry into the Epiphone lineup, that the low end, I think those kits or those packages come for under $300 as I film this. And it sounds like you're getting a really good guitar in a small package. Now, as you go up, you get a multitude of options with Epiphone. And Epiphone is not paying me, so I'm not shilling for Epiphone. But there's a number of options that go in different directions in terms of looks and features, but they build on the basic recipe of a classic Les Paul. So I have had an Epiphone Muse Les Paul. It was a fabulous guitar. The neck was just too big for me. There's Epiphone Standard is really the Epiphone version of a classic Les Paul at the Gibson level. And then they have a Prophecy at the higher end, the Prophecy and various signature models, famously the Slash. And at that point, you're talking about around $1,000. You're talking about not a cheap guitar, but again, likely a really good guitar. You don't have that big a gap from those top-end Epiphones to the low-end Gibsons. Now, with Epiphone, you're going to have some compromises always. The hardware is not going to be, in general, as good as a Gibson. Now, sometimes the pickups are the same. Again, at that $1,000 range, you're not going to get the neck, the frets plucked on the neck, which is a fabrication method to ensure that you have really level, great frets. Standard on Gibson, or at least most Gibsons. You're not going to have a nitrocellulose finish on the guitar, which is a classic Gibson, but you can get, again, terrific playing guitars for much less money than Gibson. And if for example, you're okay with a poly finish and not a nitrocellulose finish, you save yourself a lot of money. So just one more option I'll throw out to you is the option I did, which is I connected with a local guitar builder, Bridge Blenders. I'll link to his Facebook page. He's a meticulous and really committed luthier that loves to build great guitars out of more basic ones. He's taken this Epiphone traditional Pro 4 through Guitar Center, this beautiful wine red. It's in a kind of a matte finish, which is really interesting and fun. And what he does is he takes these guitars and replaces literally everything. So you start with a solid, bones of the guitar, which at this level was the classic mahogany body, maple cap, maple neck, and he just replaces everything. And he puts it up there at that Gibson level of hardware, the high-end Epiphone level of hardware for everything. So he's done that for the tailpiece, the bridge. I'll get to the pickups in a minute. All the wiring, switches, all that hardware he's upgraded. So, and he's offering it a pretty reasonable price, very similar in price to, let's say, an Epiphone Standard, and almost certainly at least as good a guitar. He also does a very interesting thing, which is to put in a wiring feature in the middle position that will let you blend the two pickups in a very, very flexibly. And I don't use it a ton, but it's a really cool feature. And then finally, what he'll do is put in some very solid pickups In this guitar, he put in Epiphone Super 2s. They were great. For me, I mentioned earlier, I like to have a little bit of a brighter humbucker, and those were just fabulous. So to sum it up, these Epiphone Les Pauls are terrific. If you're really brand new, that low end, the under $200, the studio at $250-ish, those sound good. I think they give you much of the essence of a Les Paul. When you get into that Epiphone Classic or traditional Pro, you're getting the right architecture. And as you go up from there, it's just about things like finishes. You get progressively better pickups, likely better hardware. And at the very high end of Epiphone, you're into a very expensive guitar that I'm sure is really nice. I would not go there as a newer player unless you've really tried this architecture, tried the shape and size, you like it. Maybe the last thing I'll highlight to you is you're going to find two kinds of necks on a Les Paul. The traditional neck, it's the 59 neck is going to be very thick, and if you have smaller hands or you're a newer player and you just haven't really stretched your hands out, right, that may be trouble for you, and you're going to want to try that. They offer also a slim taper neck, which is generally described as a 60s neck, and it's all through their lineup. These classics come with a slim taper neck, which is, again, really nice for a newer player. For me, the slim taper neck was still not quite thin enough, so I actually sanded mine down and gave it a nice satin finish. I'll link to a video where I show you how to do that. And what I've ended up with is a very customized and personalized guitar that is fabulous and has worked great for me. So I hope this is helpful to you. I would love to hear your comments. And thanks for watching this channel, and I hope you have a great day.